today introduce our first speaker first, that is Professor Bindu Menon, whom again, none of the senior neurologists need much of introduction because we have been seeing Dr. Bindu very, very active in various fields of neurology, especially in epilepsy and stroke. She is active quite a lot in epilepsy, but I know very well how intensely she and energetically she is working in the field of stroke as well. I had an opportunity to visit the Nellore Apollo Hospital where the people were all in so much of respect and appreciation and gratitude towards her for building up an acute stroke care service in Apollo Hospital for the benefit of all the patients in nearby. And there were, I could also listen to stories where she was able to help not only in the very affluent patients who can go to Apollo, but also how she managed to take care of the poor patients who come in time and who are needy, but who sometimes do not have the resources, how she has been helping. And her service has gone beyond the Nellore town to the a vast area surrounding that the city, but also and also the further outreach areas of Andhra Pradesh and many other parts of the country. After her MD and DM and national board certifications in qualifications in neurology, Dr. Menon has also taken from the Queen Square a prestigious diploma in clinical neurology, and this is one of the best training in clinical neurosciences compared to anywhere else in the world. She is a fellow of the Royal College of Physicians at Edinburgh, and of course a member of the National Academy of Medical Sciences, fellow of the Indian College of Physicians, fellow of the Indian Academy of Neurology, and there are many more laurels to her credit. She has a fellowship of the Geriatric Society, fellowship of the Indian Academy of Neurology, I already said, as an Indian College of Physicians as well. There are about 70 articles in national and international journals, and there are 10 book chapters, and she has various awards like H.C. Bajoria Oration Award from the Indian Epilepsy Association and Society, World Stroke Award under the Individual Achievement category in the WSO 2018. She has ILAE Leadership Program Award, which was conferred to her at Barcelona in 2017. She's a research committee member of the World Stroke Organization 2020 onwards, which is a great recognition of academic work as well as the research work. She has been a representative of the World Health Organization Southeast Asia region, a special group member of the Indian subcontinent and epilepsy neuroepidemiology of the neuroepidemiology special group member for the World Federation of Neurology, editor of Epilepsy India newsletter. She has been the president of the Epilepsy Association of the Association's Nellore chapter, and also president of the Neuro Club of Nellore. She also started the now well-known Bindu Menon Foundation, which provides free treatment to epilepsy and stroke patients, just as I was narrating a few minutes before. And this has been active for the last 5 years. And for the first time in the country, she started a rural project called Neurology on Wheels, about which we are going to hear, and we eagerly wait to hear from you. There is the tele-awareness programs for stroke and epilepsy, and also in the development of an app in stroke help. Actually, everyone is waiting to hear from you, Dr. Bindu. So now the podium is yours, please.
Thank you, Dr. Sunil. Thank you, madam. And thank you, IAN subsection, for inviting me over for having, for this one of its different type of talk, I should say, that is an outreach care. We all talk about stroke. When we talk about stroke, we mainly talk about stroke in a different manner where time is brain, and we all harp on that issue. But then there are certain aspects of stroke where, as Madam rightly pointed out, that we should be looking at the preventive care of preventive primordial prevention, and it starts from the primordial prevention, where one should stop the stroke if possible. That is where our aim should be. We are in a country which has got a global share of around 18%, and we rank globally across the world as far as population is concerned. From 1990 to 2016, India made an epidemiological transition of disease. And what I mean by an epidemiological transition is that we shifted from the communicable diseases into non-communicable diseases, where in 2016, almost all states of the country were having a mortality rate were due to the non-communicable diseases. And in that non-communicable diseases, topping the list was IHD, COPD, stroke, and it also includes all the injuries as well. But when this epidemiological transition was happening, the census of the population was continuing to show that urban and rural distribution, which was at a disparity. There was continuing to be an urban-rural divide. And if you would see in the slide from 2001 to 2011, though the population increased from 102 to 121, the urban and the rural, if you will see, the urban and the rural divide still continued, and rural accounted for around 83% of the share in the population. 2016, stroke was the second largest cause of death globally after the ischemic heart disease. The crude prevalence rate was 44 to 559 per 100,000 persons. The cumulative incidence of stroke was 105 to 152 per 100,000 persons. And when it was calculated, there was more than 100% increase in the incidence of stroke in India from 1970s to the 20th century. Now, where is the challenge? There was an skewed deviation of the super specialists, and they were mostly centered in the urban area, where we all of us work in acute stroke ready hospitals and deliver the best of care in the urban center. But then what is happening to the rural population, where according to the 2019 census, the rural population is 65%. If you would see the study, which I have plotted it down, there is the stroke burden and the stroke care system in Asia. And if you would look at India and the Pakistan, the round is for that India there, you would see that the neurologists per 1,000 population is less than 1. And even that neurologist is primarily centered in the urban area and not in the rural area, as all of us know that. Just taking through some of the few studies which has been done recently, the study profile and the outcome between, this is an Indian study from Dr. Jairaj Pandian's group. This is the data from Ludhiana, the population-based stroke registry. And they tried to see this was an urban population-based registry comparing to the rural, and the multivariate analysis showed that the rural population were younger, they were farmers, housewives, and consumed alcohol. So only to say that there is definitely a difference in the regional and socio-cultural practices, and it would vary from across the country, because all of us know that the practices, the eating habits, and the other socio-economic cultures also differ across the country between the north, south, east, and the west. This is another study, and it is a very robust study, and which really impressed me, I should say. This is a high prevalence of stroke in rural Gadchiroli. This is an area in the country which is probably one of the most underdeveloped districts of India, which had a house-to-house survey of around 45,000 people, and they conducted in 39 villages. They found that the mean age was 60 plus 14.7 years. The crude prevalence was 388. The age standardized prevalence was 435. The stroke was more prevalent in men than in women, and the stroke was accounting for the leading cause of death in 1 in 7 deaths. Now, if you would see the study, this has been published in 2016, and if you would have a chart of all the other studies which has been done over the years, you would see that the crude prevalence of stroke in the rural India is continuing to increase. So in 2014, the study which was done in Maharashtra had shown the prevalence rate to be around 400 per 1,000 per 10,000 people. And you would see that in this, it was around 535 per 100,000 population. So is the incidence of stroke in the rural population increasing, and whether the risk factors probably are same or different, but are definitely under addressed? Now, what can be done? We will never be able to treat every stroke in the country for a long period of time. So where should our emphasis lie? All of us know, even in the best of the stroke-ready hospitals, we do not have patients reaching out either in the time window for intravenous thrombolysis or for an interventional endovascular treatment. So where should our emphasis lie? So our emphasis should also lie on preventing as many strokes as possible, will probably be the best stroke care that we can provide. And as all of us know, even the World Stroke Organization has pointed out that more than 80% of strokes are the consequence of a modifiable risk factor, which include the obesity, hypertension, stroke, smoking, diabetes, and dyslipidemia. So we, as I have been asked to talk about our project in detail, so I would now start off with our initial step, which we started in 2013 and started the Dr. Bindu Menon Foundation. When in 2013 we started the foundation, we started with a handful of patients with stroke and epilepsy who were below the poverty line and who could not afford the medications or consultations. We're only at 20 or 25 patients, and now we have more than 100 patients each of stroke and epilepsy who are getting free medications and consultations and other tests if needed every month from them. And we can see a real sea change in the patient's conditions from that time. So what are the challenges that we face? And what is the way forward which our foundation has looked into? One is a geographical isolation. We know that all the places are way away from the areas of urban desirable hospitals where the patient can reach. And we also know that the mode of transport for these people to get into the urban areas are very difficult. So we thought that rather than they reaching out to us, the best way would be that we move into the rural community. And that is one of our, and I should say a project which is very close to my heart as well, that is the Neurology on Wheels. The second challenge was a limited education and a poor health awareness. Now, all of us know that if we talk to them in a language which is alien to them, the reception would be very bad, and second, the retention would be worst. So it is very important that we update the knowledge to them in their language. And for that, we started a stroke mnemonic in the local language, that is the Telugu language, which we can relate to them while we are talking to them. This is not only in the rural, but in the urban, when we go to the schools, colleges, or any of the social organizations. The Ministry of Health and Family Welfare has also said that one of the most important reasons why the stroke or the cardiac diseases are not being able to prevent as it should be is the false reassurance of low risk. I don't have hypertension, I don't have diabetes. If I have, I won't get it. That is a false reassurance, and that is why it is important that we keep on re-emphasizing that these are the risk factors for two of the major diseases, especially for stroke, and that can be devastating not only for the patient, but also for the family. The post-stroke care, all of us know that once even if the patient has been thrombolized and is in the best care at the acute stroke-ready hospital and stroke center, once the patient goes home, once the patient returns back for follow-up, there are cases where the patient has not reached either to his desired level of freedom, or probably has even gone back on his disability level. So we started the Stroke Help app, and that we found that it was particularly very important during this COVID-19 times, where the patients could, none of the patients, whether it be rural or urban, could visit any of the hospital. Then we know that there is an unevenly distributed healthcare system. Howsoever we may do, but we can never reach the rural population and give them the best care. And that is where telemedicine, which has been into the national program as well. So, but then we don't have a telemedicine because our foundation is not probably a foundation which can afford a telemedicine. But then what we feel is that things can be improvised to take it to the patients, and that is what we did, and we had the project We Care. So let me take and give few examples of how we do about it, and the first is the Neurology on Wheels. So as I said, reaching out to the rural population. Now, this is a study by the Ministry of Statistics and Policy Implementation. If you would have a look on this, you would find that the reasons for travel in a rural and urban India in 2015 and 16, if you would see that the rural India, almost 80% travel for health and medical reasons. So you can understand that the urban and the all India in itself travels more for health and medical, but then more than 75% of the time they travel. And when they travel, do they reach the real doctor? Do they reach the real person? Do they get the real treatment? And are they able to travel back and get back the follow-ups at the desired time and the need? Now, the first and the second graphs are well known. That is Andhra Pradesh and in the coastal district of southern southeastern belt of India. And that is where we are, that is Nellore, again a coastal belt of Andhra Pradesh. And that's the picture of the Nellore city where we run our program. So as Madam had briefly pointed out, that we have a motto of Neurology on Wheels. That is the van which we travel into the villages. We have a motto of we reach, we teach, and we treat. Because we feel that it is not enough for patients to just go and tell them that you have a stroke and then just give them the medications and run back. We need to also emphasize not only to the patient, but to the caregiver and to the whole village that this is something which you can prevent. This is something where there is a facility treatment available. This is something where with the proper care, you can probably get back to your feet and your family can have a good life. So we reach there, we teach there, and we treat. So what we do is when in the We Reach program, villages are identified from the 46 mandals by a random selection. And we intimate the village serpent and head about the date of the visit. The Asha, the Anganwadi workers, and the ANM primes them about the visit, and the stroke patients are registered. What are we doing here? We are
India is presently facing a dual burden of communicable and non-communicable diseases, of which stroke and epilepsy are the important neurological disorders. The challenges in stroke treatment include limited number of trained neurologists who are mostly urban, with progressive rural-urban disparity in the stroke care. Adding to that, the awareness about the prevention and recognition of symptoms is very low. There are several unmet needs in epilepsy as well due to the increased burden, the low awareness, stigma, and the treatment gap. An initiative, Neurology on Wheels.
So you would see that our vehicle gets parked into a village, and the number of people who come to us during that time, we take advantage of their presence for the teach. That is an awareness program to the village we run.
Will go a long way.
And in that program, we explain to them about the stroke. We explain to them about the risk factor, the symptoms of stroke, the importance that the time is brain. We explain to them about the post-stroke care. We have designed pamphlets. We give the pamphlets to them and ask them to distribute into the village. We stick posters at strategic areas so that they can keep reading them, any of those buildings, any of those trees, everywhere. We keep sticking posters. So it will be there for some time in the local language for them to read. We have covered around 29 villages, and in each village, we have around 250 to 300 people who may be patients, caregivers, just bystanders who have come to visit us. And in that way, we have been able to educate more than 10,000 people. And in this way, we bridge the ignorance gap. The last is we treat. After the reaching, after the teaching, we start off our treatment program, and there we start screening the patients for smoking, alcohol, hypertension, check the weight, obesity, stroke, and epilepsy also. We counsel the patients for risk factors, smoking, alcohol, dietary habits. We conduct an EEG for the epilepsy, but then that's different from the stroke, so not mentioning here. Treatment is given for hypertension and stroke for a period of 1 month. The patients are counseled and directed to the nearest primary health center for the regular medications. In rest of the cases where the patients say that, and we feel that they really need specialized and supervised care, they are adopted under the foundation monthly caps. So in this way, we improve the delivery and coordination of the community services. So we have been able to reach 29 villages, educated more than 10,000 people, screened 250 by 300 per village. We have been able to detect new cases, not the ones who were hypertensive and not taking medication, new cases around 294 in these 29 villages, diabetes around 74, and stroke around 111. So we have been able to bridge the gap of distance, bridge the gap of ignorance, and bridge the treatment gap. The next challenge was limited education and poor health awareness, in which the knowledge update we need to have is in, as I mentioned, that it should be in their own language, that is vernacular language. One of our own studies, which was published in the stroke and cerebrovascular diseases, we found that only 14% of responders could identify that the patient had stroke, and 35% could identify the warning symptoms of stroke. So what will happen if I speak to a person in FAST, F-A-S-T, will he be able to understand what a stroke? He probably might not, but then if I speak to him in a musical language, which he understands, that is Sare Gama Pada Nisa, and that's the Telugu language Madam will understand, the stroke awareness can be understood. And this is our late Balasubramaniam sir, who rendered his voice for the Saregama Padanisa, and that we utilize for our educational programs. So reach out in their own language so that they can understand. The next is a false reassurance of low risk. As we said, that India is a country, it is growing rurally as well as urban, but then you see the number of connections that the people have, the number of phones that the people has is also exponentially increasing, and it is also second in the whole world. So we utilize this way to reach out to people, that is an outreach, that reaching out through an electronic means, that is a tele-awareness program. Anybody could dial on this number 1800-891-6977 and could he listened to a recorded message about stroke and epilepsy and also migraine actually included here. And this, they can know about the facts. Most of the times it is not really important for them to know a huge fund of information where they get confused. It is only important to know the warning factors, the risk factors, and what they should know, what is the time, golden period. And that will give the gist of how a stroke can be prevented and treated in time. We also thought about post-stroke care. So we are trying to do about a primordial prevention. We are doing a primary prevention. We are doing acute stroke care treatment at our hospital. We have a stroke ready center. We are doing the thrombectomy. Everything is going on place. But what is happening to the post-stroke care, which is being neglected? And I should say that when we talk in the research committees in the World Stroke Organization, it's as well, everybody feels that post-stroke care is the one which is most neglected. And for that, we started the Stroke Help app. Availability of services is a wide gap between the demand and the supply of stroke rehabilitation. Affordability, you know, all of us know that a person cannot afford a physiotherapist at his house or to go there every time. Information and knowledge barriers, whether it is really important, how could a physiotherapy help me come out of a stroke which is in the brain? So the stroke rehabilitation runs through a spectrum, that is from the stroke unit, where we start the multidisciplinary inpatient services, where in admission itself, the rehabilitation and the early supported discharge and the home and community-based discharge. The home and community-based discharge rehabilitation are the ones where we should be probably focusing on in a later period of time. But at this point of time, we thought that we will start on a tele-rehabilitation, that is a delivery of rehabilitation services via information and communication technology. And we started the Stroke Help app. If you could just put in the Stroke Help in the Google Play Store, it's only in the Android phone at this point of time. And Stroke, you could see that in this list, it would come as Stroke Help. And if you could open, this is the logo of the Stroke Help. And there are 27 lessons in that, which contains limb exercises, hand and dexterity, coordination and balance and vision. And with all of those exercises, which has been done by a trained neurophysiotherapist, on a volunteer. And these are the simple instruments which the person can do it at home, which has been taught and which has been kept on the app, which is convenient, which they can be done repetitively. There is a flexibility and control over the physiotherapy. They need not to be present at 9:30 in a particular hospital for the physiotherapist to be getting the exercises done. And it obviously very simple to use. If you'll use that, open up the app, you just have to register on it and it is freely available. It is not chargeable to the patient. So I'll just show a glimpse of the few exercises which would be there.
Of these exercises will help in neuroplasticity and make your brain to control your movements better. The physiotherapist is teaching all the exercises to you in these videos. All exercises are to be done under supervision. This initiative is only an attempt to help the patients and caregivers to support in their journey of stroke. Any discomfort or problems while doing exercises, they need to stop immediately and consult their respective doctors. The exercise.
So it's a very easy, handy tool for patients. And in this, particularly in this COVID-19 times, we found that it was extremely useful for patients. And we're also doing a blinded trial to see that how a stroke rehab app can help the patients in the future. The last was the unevenly distributed healthcare system, in which the telemedicine, that is WeCare, where in the pre-hospital acute stroke and the post-stroke care, this is really not kicked off very well because of the COVID-19 and because we couldn't send our volunteers, but we use our simple tool of the webcam, and we talk to the patients who have already been seen our Neurology on Wheels, and we have the charts with us who also were the stroke and the epilepsy patients, and we try to see whether the compliance of medications are being done. And we hope that once in 2021 the COVID-19 settles down, we will be able to take this still further. So there is a stroke system of care which starts from the community education, the primordial, the primary, the EMS response, acute stroke care, secondary prevention, stroke rehabilitation, and there is a continuum quality improvement, from where we feel that the rural area is one which is suffering. Everything might be probably is going fairly well in the urban areas, but there is something which really needs to be done, and that is why an outreach program is absolutely essential. And as Dr. Sunil Narayan just mentioned, that the Indian Academy of Neurology has also agreed to have a subsection, that is Neurology Outreach Program. Dr. Piyush as a chairman and myself as a convener, and we invite more and more people who are like-minded and who wish to be a part of this program. And any of these projects of mine, from the Neurology on Wheels to the inpatients, to the outpatients, to the stroke care or the epilepsy care, would not have been possible with a number of support intermittently at different periods of time, who have been pillars for us and standing behind us in their support and care. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Bindu. That was an amazing talk. I mean, one could see how you have very, with a lot of thought and a lot of passion, how you have designed this entire outreach program. And it shows off your knowledge as well as your dedication, along with a real interest and devotion to get the care to those needy people, devoting almost your entire prime part of your life to the care of the people where you are working, to provide the best in areas where you have your expertise and your acumen to offer to. So this is really commendable, and there is no surprise that you have won so many laurels, and certainly you are going to win more and more of them. And certainly you are a champion and a model for all youngsters who always think of what the nation or the universities and the education and community can do for them. And the best way to get everything in for you is to offer your help and your expertise to your nation, to your community and your society. And once you start doing this, the enormous returns that you get is the satisfaction and the love and affection of the patients. And along with that, of course, as Dr. Bindu has been getting all sort of laurels also follow. But the care and the satisfaction that you get from your care and the love and respect you earn from your patients, the way the science benefits from all these things, they all go hand in hand. And thank you, Dr. Bindu. You have been really a champion of the care and outreach, stroke and neurology, and a role model for all budding youngsters in neurology and stroke care.